Oh
What
man, the
is
clean
it-
Ansurek Nerfs. That is
Yeah.
exactly what I wanted to see today.
That is
Yeah.
so
Is
good
it-
for you.
Today is a great day on planet Earth. Let me tell you what. Today just keeps getting better.
That our intro? That is the new
That could be your
Grass and
intro.
Clover?
Yeah.
What a great day on planet Earth. Today is the day that the Mythic Queen Ansurek has been nerfed, and so much more. But first, welcome to the bench, episode 16, powered by Wowhead. And I have some news here after feedback from last week. We've decided to bring on two new hosts, as the comments were not very happy. We have Algles to that side.
Hello,
And
what's up?
we have Pet Zergling down below me. How are you guys doing today?
Not too
I'm
bad.
doing all right. I thought what you were gonna say is that based off the comments, you're now taking host of the show, and now you are the host and not Teddles. I thought that would have went hard.
Dude, that would have got insane. Yeah, dude, what's up with these Queen Ansurek nerfs? They just took a baseball bat to the spawns.
Haven't even read them. That's how happy I am. Is I just saw the Wowhead title with the word massive nerfs in it, and I'm just like, I don't even. Look, we're still on Silken, so I haven't even pulled this boss yet. But
Okay. Before we get to Queen Ansurek, we do have to have an update for the people here.
Okay.
How is your guild doing on Mythic Silken Court?
So one of the main problems is we keep getting spy masters and heroics and then giving them to people, and then we either kick them or they leave or they quit. And so we needed to do heroic splits again on week 12 to get spy masters for all of our new raiders that have joined and are halfway through Silken quitting endeavor. I'm reprogging the fight a little bit, so the two people that I'm normally out in ranged baiting with are gone, and they're different people now. We have a new tank. I don't know what's going on. He, I think, just started playing the game last week, so we need to gear him up in
Wait,
heroic as well.
Chow's gone already?
So actually, I mentioned Rignaros is joining, but he did not show up, or I don't know what the deal is. But we had a different guy who I just wasn't familiar with him. I don't know if he's like an app or a friend of Drogo's. So it's Chow and some other guy, and I don't know if
Drogo
Rignaros is
tanking.
They needed a healer like 3 weeks ago in Kaveza or something, if I recall correctly.
Yes, I don't know. I mean, Drogo basically cycles through the different characters. So he started as, I believe, a priest, or no, was it Og, or no? He's basically on his 5th character that's been in our raid. Yeah, but Silken's good. My guild is on some massive copium. We had people call out and get sick, so we actually had to cancel a raid night this week, which is amazing. But I'm seeing stuff in our guild Discord about adding hours and about potentially they think they can kill the boss tonight. I mean, we haven't even made it to the end of the fight yet, so our guild is huffing on some heavy copium. But I get to be here and hang out with you guys until then. So we'll cherish these last couple hours.
Well,
then.
That's unfortunate that you have to reprog with your... How many tanks have you had this year? Is this your 4th tank?
At least. The 2 tanks that
Jesus.
started the tier are not here anymore. So yes. And we've had different people tanking different bosses for comps.
Nice. Okay, so anyways,
Yeah.
the Queen Ansurek nerfs. Web blades have been reduced. This seems pretty good. It seems like Squishy can maybe correct me because I haven't done the fight, but it seems like web blades were the #1 complaint that I have seen from guilds who are progging this fight. It seems like unless you were mechanically very skilled, you die to web blades a lot. Also, apparently the damage of the web blades is going down, so hopefully, is this going to make it not lethal?
No, so that's I don't think that's supposed to be under web blades. They formatted it under web blades, but that's the webs on the ground.
Gotcha, okay.
I won't lie, I stood in that a lot already, and like it's not that bad. So like,
Oh, this is from
that's a little weird.
This is the ground effect from breaking the root?
Yeah, the web blades change is amazing for consistency because there's a lot of times in the fight where you have 3 web blades go out, you start moving to a safe zone, and then another web blade comes out and just blocks off your entire safe zone, or like people bait in a bad spot or something like that. Like this going down from 4 to 3 keeps the lethality of web blades, which I think Blizzard would want, while making it not as RNG. Because as much as people say, like, the RNG of Webblades was pretty rough at times.
I actually think it's a pretty good mechanic. I will say that I think the way that they've been creating it, so they created Blaze on Fire Rack, kind of similar mechanic. They created a similar mechanic on Nexus Princess Kaiveza, and now they have Webblades. I actually don't mind the mechanic. Now, I do think that, at least for Webblades on Ansurek, they look like they're a bit fast, and the amount of them is, you could argue, a bit too high. But I think in terms of like mechanical design, I think that this is actually a pretty good mechanic.
I mean, I think something needed to happen. The amount of Webblade deaths is probably the #1 killer on the fight.
Yeah.
In a vacuum, Webblades is fine, but every Webblade overlaps with another mechanic on Ansurek, which I think is the major problem. Roots, you couldn't slowly break people out. No, you needed to burst them down because the roots, or break the roots because Webblades was like 3 seconds afterwards. So Webblades alone is fine. I would be shocked if they didn't use it again next tier, honestly. This feels like one of the mechanics that they kind of take and then move to the next tier or in a future tier.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting mechanic. Reactive toxins, which is basically the froth circle on the ground, correct? Is this what this is talking about? No longer increases up to 4?
So, that's the number of bouncy circles you have.
Gotcha.
So it starts off at 2, then the first one 3, and then 4. The 4 set is brutal because on Mythic you have to separate the pops by a second, which means that as the ring expands, you're popping it just as the ring hits it, essentially. This makes that last section so much easier because, especially combined with the next nerf, which is removed the root right beforehand. These two, the last little bit of the phase 1 was so difficult because it was a root break into Webblades, and while the Webblades were going out, the first group immediately needs to pop. So you have to move forward, bait the Webblades off the thing. That group needs to move back on and then start popping because you just don't have enough time. This overall, all these nerfs, what they do is they create a less of an RNG and make things a lot easier. The hardest points where you will wipe a lot, mostly speaking towards Growl here, will be significantly reduced. I think this makes the fight way more bearable for newer guilds.
Yeah, and then looking at these other changes, the Gloom Blast damage, this is the portal, right?
That is the Dispel. So every time you go to the portal, you get a Dispel. That damage is a lot of damage, so that's a kind of nice change. I don't think Phase 2 needed much changes.
What is Shadowy Distortion? What is this?
It means you can't go through a portal again. I won't lie, I don't see a point of this. You swapped people already because you want cooldowns.
Yeah.
If you send someone the same 2 people through every portal, they're gonna do 0 damage and have nowhere to cooldown. So I don't see a reason for it. I guess what it does is it makes the first you can send a not healer on the first platform. I guess.
Oh, interesting. The Phase 3 stuff, it's kind of interesting that they're hitting this Phase 3 stuff because it seems like the meta strat for Phase 3 is already just Zerg the boss, right?
Phase 3 is so much better now. The biggest thing with Phase 3 is how inconsistent it was.
Really?
The first point is Summon Acolytes no longer go past 4. This change is nice, but most guilds were killing it mid 5 set. You don't even kill the 5 set anymore.
Yeah.
You just kill the boss. So that's kind of whatever. It's a little less raid damage. They removed the second shackles of 3, which makes it so that this is a difficult one because you don't have any cooldowns for this set, which means you have to use externals on the 3 people that have the shackles, which is tough for some guilds to coordinate. So they just removed that, which is perfectly fine.
What guild is he talking about, I wonder?
Could be anyone. This last one is massive, though. The portal jumps on Mythic are a nightmare. Because whenever you get the portals, Webblades immediately spawns, and you have to get to exactly 2 positions. And if you fuck up the portals, you immediately die. The portals need to be very specific on that. Okay. And the Webblades block you, right? And then the second they're gone, you have 2 seconds to get the portal locations. So most people just use prescripts. But if there's no blades, it makes it very easy. So consistency levels on this fight just went up at least 300%. I think this is going to be a much better fight to prog for Growl, and you probably won't hate life as much.
Dude, I had since DM me some stats on this raid. Apparently, Nerebar is very similar in difficulty to what we saw from Amirdrassil.
Yeah, I saw he tweeted this as well.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it on Twitter. But yeah, I don't know. Does it feel as difficult as Amirdrassil was? Like, how have you guys been feeling about it?
I'll let Grog go first. I've been talking a lot.
I don't know. Personally, I think to me the boss's mechanics seem pretty intuitive and reasonable. I think with the I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like Amirdrassil had a lot more like really really tough complicated moments where like you had to like really plan out and like do things perfectly, whereas this is like more about consistency, I guess. Where like if I like Kai Vezza, for example, it's like the same thing over and over and over again, right? Brood Twister, like sort of the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is so for me, usually I expect the first tier of the expansion to be kind of like not so crazy, to kind of get people in and have a good time. And this definitely was not that though. Like I would still not put this on the easy side of raids for sure.
I mean, I think for me, this tier is just so hard. And I know people are kind of like, a lot of people are freaking out right now. And it sucks whenever you're on a end boss, you're getting close, and you're gonna be frustrated that the kill was kind of sniped out from under you. But I think for the overall health of the game, this needed to happen. This fight was brutal and would have probably killed a lot of guilds just because it was the type of fight where one person who wasn't available to dodge as well or anything like that probably just killed you a lot of the time. So
I actually think like the people who complain about, oh my god, the fight was nerfed, we were gonna kill it, blah blah blah. Like I think that's just such a huge minority of people, and I think that a majority of people appreciate when things get made easier, especially later on into the season where they can still allow the really sweaty people to progress through the harder parts of it. Like I don't think there's anybody left right now who's like on these bosses who is upset that things are getting nerfed. It's a little bit different in M plus. I want to say I remember I was on record. People kind of gave me flack about not liking the timer changes, but overall that's because it changes the dynamic of high keys. Like people are still progressing that high keys, but for anybody doing tens or lower, I think that change is totally fine and good, right? Like I'm totally fine with like making that progression path a little bit easier for people in the middle of the season, and I kind of like that. I think it's a cool way to do difficulty of like throwing people a bone a little bit who are still out there, especially for people who just don't necessarily have the time to put in a lot. It helps improve their success rate, for the guilds that are only rating 6 hours or 4 hours a week, for the people that are only pugging a few keys a week, maybe they'll have a lot easier time when they put these nerfs in.
I will say I do kind of empathize with it because you want raid to be like a static difficulty type of thing where you feel like you're rewarded at the end of the season. But I do think that realistically Blizzard either shouldn't design bosses this hard or should be willing to nerf bosses that are very, very difficult. And it's like, I think that personally, I really like difficult encounters that feel rewarding whenever you kill them. And so then you kind of have to expect Blizzard to be willing to go through and nerf them after the fact. But one of the downsides of nerfing them after the fact is that you do kind of feel like you could have killed it prior to the nerf, and then you just like, oh, this is unfortunate if you didn't kill it.
I think I agree with what you're saying. I actually am a really big believer of that whole shared experiences thing of like having challenges be equal for people so that what that person went through and you kind of like, oh yeah, I got cutting edge in that tier too. I think there's a lot of value to that. The downside to it here, though, when it comes to rating, is that the gap in skill for guilds that clear Mythic is so big, right? Like the difference between Liquid and Echo in a guild that's ranked 20 versus a guild that's ranked 100 versus a guild that's ranked 500. Like these are guilds that are not even in the same leagues as each other, right? And they're in the same raid. So I think while it is true that you would like to say like, oh, I killed the same boss that Liquid did or whatever, like you won't. Way fewer people. Like if they did leave the bosses the way they were at the beginning, even though they are killable, if you're good enough, I feel like you're going to be in a situation where you're going to lose, 80% of the guilds that are rating Mythic.
Severed strands and gear, not enough. Not nerfing bosses in the right way. I mean, how we've been feeling about both the severed strands and the gear like process being longer.
I love the gear process. I'm gonna get flack for this too, but I love being able to still get upgrades this late into the
Yep.
season. I think one annoying problem, the biggest problem is when you're a very skilled player with multiple characters, and you know, like the idea of farming 8s to 10s is just not really uh it's not really a challenge or fun for you, and that's not that many people. Let me be clear, like if you're farming 10s on like a 6-10 item level character, like you're a pretty dang good player if that's your ult, right? So I think for people like that, I can understand why they get upset about the crest, but I love still having upgrades to look forward to in a progression path, and I think it makes the very difficult progression of season 1 of War Within a little bit more bearable, the fact that like, you know, every single week you're still getting stronger. I think in terms of the raid nerfs and severed threads, it's a little bit weird because we looked at severed threads, at least I kind of did, and thought like, well, if they're doing this, they're probably going to be nerfing the raid a whole lot less and like just letting this kick in. But it definitely was not the case, and they had to take the nerf bat to like basically every single hard boss in the raid. I wish maybe, you know, I think Severed Threads feels a little bit better. Like I wish maybe it would have kicked in a little bit earlier, and then maybe they would have, you know, make it like I feel like it's pretty late into the season.
Is it noticeable?
I mean, I think it's
Yes.
only at 5% right now, right?
It's 4.5.
Yeah, 4.5%, and I mean we are deep into the season, right? So if the rate has only been nerfed by 4.5% this deep into the season is like pretty crazy to me.
We
I
are
think.
50
Like,
days. 50 days in.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, and I think a lot of people kind of need to think about it this way. The stuff that they've nerfed over the course of the entire raid is stuff that Severed Threads would not make easier. Remember, Severed Threads is only damage done and healing done. It is not a health increase, which personally I think is the problem, but we'll get to that in a second. Because think about like Kaiveza. What do they nerf on Kaiveza? They nerfed the damage of everything and her health. Well, the health was a compensation nerf for, well, the fact that you one-tanked it.
Yeah, that was sick.
It was the thing. But, you know, once they nerfed, like, Queensbane by, like, 15%, everybody was like, oh, Kaiveza's so easy now. That's a massive nerf. 15%'s a big number. But Growl, as a healer on Kaiveza, like, that dot still trucks, right? Like...
Yeah, it really didn't. The healing buff didn't really change that much. Like, I think that I'm trying to think of like really any bosses where I feel like, I mean, obviously every bit of healing matters, but like there really hasn't been very, very heavy rot bosses or heal check bosses, at least.
Yeah.
To me. Like, I feel like, I mean, we're on Silken Core, right? Like the penultimate boss or whatever. And that is like, maybe at the end of phase 3, things get hard, but that's a fight that every single fight so far really feels like is very mechanically driven. Like you do the mechanics, and some of them you can kind of strong arm if you have bad mechanics and good healing, but it doesn't really feel like the healing helps that much in any of the fights, really.
And the thing is, and you know, the Kaiveza nerfs weren't directly targeting healing. It was kind of addressing the problem that as skill goes down, it's not that you need more healing, it's people struggle to target the right people, I think. Because realistically, your AoE, like, what is a healer who is coming into Kaiveza who is lesser skilled? They're gonna just AoE heal the raid when the people who are in real danger of death are the 5 people on the outside getting chunked by that dot. And so you do have to kind of compensate for that, in my opinion. Similar thing with like Silken Core. They upped the orbs from 3 to 4. That was a big change, by the way. And that, you know, the orbs and positioning, that's not something that's going to be affected by Silken Strands. Or Severed Threads, sorry. Silken Strands.
Severed Strands. Severed Strands.
Then you have, like, Queen Ansurek. Yes, you have some damage nerfs, but realistically, all of these are mechanical changes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, less web blades, those one-shot. Like, no amount of Severed Threads is going to help you with that. Defensive usage, because that's one-shot checks on the shackles. Those are one-shot checks. More healing isn't going to help you with that. Root breaks, Severed Threads isn't going to help you with that. Like, overall, I do think that they need to compensate for these nerfs. Severed Threads will deal with the rest. I think this is the last time they'll nerf the raid period.
I believe that, but I mean, they've gone through and basically taken every boss out back, like the last 4 bosses. So I mean,
If they're gonna,
I would hope.
Should they have released this hard?
No way. I mean, I think very clearly we can see that these bosses are being designed for world first raiders.
I like hard raids, but I'm just watching this from like an outsider POV because I didn't raid Prague this tier, and this raid just looks too hard.
I think hard is relative. In my opinion, I think a Silken Court-like boss for a guild with a consistent roster is fun because you make slow progression over the entire fight. A fight like Queen Ansurek, where you know the entire fight and you're still wiping like crazy in phase 1, like your prog is 1 good phase 3 pull, 10 wipes in phase 1. 1 good phase 3 pull, 10 wipes in phase 1, is just not a very fun boss. You need 20 people to perform well. I don't think that's a really sustainable metric. I think it just provides frustration for everyone, and it's not like you can blame them. Like, we're human, we make mistakes. But it just sucks. These types of fights are just not fun. One person, wipes, you blow up. Ugh. I thought they learned from Amirdrassil, and I don't think that's true.
I think personally, I think the absence of like linear raid difficulty is very problematic for this raid.
Oh yeah.
Not that I hate my ability to be able to kill 4 bosses and then zone out of the raid for free, right? Yeah, but like I think it's really stupid that I can.
I was thinking that too, and I think I don't even know. It's weird because like I mean, it feels weird, but is it really bad? Like, in my opinion, one of the biggest problems in the game right now is their sort of like static, need to have mythic raiding guilds, need to be mythic raiders, and like not really catering as well to the pug scene. And I feel like having that many bosses easily killable versus like, normally where it's only 1 or 2 that you're pugging, I kind of don't mind it. Like, I don't know. I think this was a raid.
One or two is fine. It's like 4 of them being one-shottable, I think, is problematic. Like,
I
spend 45 minutes a week and kill 4 bosses, man. There's no way.
All right, I'll let the comments decide. I don't think Rashanon and Sikron are that easy. I think if you're playing with a full team that knows the mechanics, who've killed them before, it is like. But I think Rashanon, especially if you don't know what's going on, like there's no way a random pug and group finder is killing Rashanon.
I'd probably agree with that. I think Rashanon feels like it's almost missing a mechanic in a way, like for where it's supposed to be on Mythic. It just doesn't do anything half the time, and then you overheal it because you have more damage. So like,
yeah, I don't know. I actually don't like the state of where Mythic Raid is going right now. I think that Mythic Raid is in a really weird place, and it's been in a weird spot for a few tiers where fewer and fewer guilds are actually participating in Mythic Raid, and it just seems like it's dying. I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that it's just really hard to get 20 people together, and it's like really hard to form a new guild. But I think that part of it too is also just like it's less enticing whenever you compare it to some of the other things that you could potentially be doing in World of Warcraft. And I think that they have to figure out something for Mythic raiding.
I kind of think they should have for these nerfs. I almost think they could have separated into 2. It's been about a month since the last Mythic Queen Ansurek nerfs, and those were the normie tax. I'd say the non-raced world first guilds, basically. I think they probably could have done some of these changes, like the quality of life changes, maybe like 2 weeks ago. Like remove that one route, make the Webblade change, and I don't even know if they needed to do the rest of them. Some of these do seem like overkill when combined with the rest.
Yeah, I don't know,
but it is what it is.
I feel like for me, this might just be a personal thing. I felt like for a hot minute, I hadn't had like that pop off moment after you end up killing a raid boss where you're just like super elated. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I got jaded over killing bosses over time.
I kind of feel like, to me at least, it's relative to how you feel like your guild's progression is doing.
Okay.
Like, for instance, I was raiding in a guild previous to this that was like higher ranked and doing better and improving each tier. And I would say when I was raiding with Humble, like pretty consistently when we would kill a boss, like I wouldn't, pop off, but I would be excited,
You get the gamer adrenaline.
Yeah, and I feel like whenever you go in the reverse almost, or like, you're either downranking guilds or your guild is doing worse, then it feels like, oh, this is a prison, this is bad, right? Like I feel like part of the pop off is like, you're happy, you feel like you did it and you're proud of the accomplishment. And so when you go backwards, and like people like you, especially who have been around the game and like rated for a long time and at a high level, like it's hard to keep topping that over and over again, right?
It's the same thing with like, farming Mythic Plus for a specific trinket or something like that, depending on your, your expectation, you'll either be really excited when you get it on your, an early try, or you'll just breathe a sigh of relief when you get it on your 30th try, right?
You're begging that Ragnaros pug to please sell it to you for hundreds of thousands of gold so you can escape this prison.
I think it's just like expectations versus like reality kind of thing, like Growl said. How much do you feel like you're in prison right now? How much do you feel like you're doing well? Like, I'm sure we all remember Hippo on Sylvanas.
That was crazy, by the way.
I love Hippo, by the way. He's been back doing some keys. He's been playing Ellie Shaman.
It's show belly, dude.
Show belly.
I love the analogy to M+ because I was thinking about some keys that I've done. Like recently, we timed a 17 City of Threads, and that's like a pretty hard key to heal, and I was like pretty happy about healing that. Like I'm like, damn, I've really learned a lot about this key, and that, I'm not gonna lie, that was a little bit of a pop off for me when we timed that. And then likewise in Grimbatol, like we've depleted Grimbatol so many freaking times, and then eventually when we did time it, I'm like, oh my god, finally it's over, And it's kind of like it depends on, I think, like how well you feel like you played and how well the team did, like relative to how the pop off is. But I don't know. I think you Titles especially might be being a little bit doomer.
Yeah, maybe I'm being a doomer.
But I don't think. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. Like, I'm a big Mythic Plus enjoyer versus Mythic Raid, but I wouldn't say it's really going downhill. It just sort of like is what it is.
Fewer guilds are participating every single tier, and it's just like it's slowly going downhill. It makes me worry that like just keeping up with the status quo is not sustainable for Mythic Raid, but maybe it is. Maybe it's just shrinking because more people are choosing just to do Mythic Plus then, and it's going to kind of plateau at a specific level, and it just hasn't reached that spot yet.
I think part of it too is just like the skill gap. It just continues to increase.
Yeah.
Like Race to World First guilds continue to get better. Their add-ons are getting more complex, and like the amount of stuff that they have, I mean, their players are insane. The ease that they learn, their ability to like react on the fly, their strategies, like it's kind of insane how good they are at this game. And then at least this tier, I will give props to Blizzard. The second the race ended, they slapped each boss with like 15% health and damage across the board. And the crazy part is it was not enough on a lot of those bosses.
When was the last time you guys had a hard DPS check?
I don't know. Our guild?
Like a guild that you were in. When was the last time you had a hard DPS check? Like wipe to the damage check 20 plus times.
Oh, never.
Never?
Sludge Fist?
Sludge Fist?
Oh, okay, maybe
I feel like every guild that killed Sludge Fist killed him as he ran to the wall the last time. No matter what skill level you were, Sludge Fist always rammed the wall, and you killed him in that wall.
For your first kill?
I think
for your first kill.
Also, Painsmith was pretty close, I think, if you were early on as well.
Oh, right? Yeah, our Painsmith kill was
closing ring. Okay, I will agree with that.
I don't think we wiped the enrage 20 times, but I do think that we wiped.
I mean 20 times, but that also wasn't a boss that it wasn't that difficulty of a boss.
Smolderon.
Was Smolder? Okay, all right.
You wiped to the Smolderon enrage a lot? Okay, interesting.
I think, I mean, like, I don't know that it was a lot, but it definitely, I definitely know that, like, the final ring started closing, right? On Smolderon. I remember seeing that.
Those are by far the most satisfying bosses to me whenever you're wiping into the enrage. Like, I think to me, the biggest pop-off moment I had for an end boss kill was Argus. And it's not because Argus was a particularly good boss, but it had something to do with the damage check relative to the enrage of that fight. It just created for this moment where the boss is like about to blow you up, and you're like kind of like Rygalon-esque. You're like, oh my fucking god.
You're like every single global and point of damage matters.
Hippo screamed louder than the Sylvanas kill on the first Argus kill that he did.
Oh god. All I remember of Argus for you was you taking a gateway.
Well, that was in farm months after. That boss was kind of troll. You had to have like 8 immunities on that fight. That was real dumb. But
oh god, yeah.
I don't know. I think that rating is in a weird state. I don't like 20. I think that 20 player is the wrong amount of people, but I don't know if Blizzard can fix it.
Bro, okay, actually, I'll be doing about the raid. Not to go on too long about this, but bro, the weak auras and stuff that's required for the raid. So like now, so this is just a meta now. Like I remember in that when I first started playing, the idea that you have to download deadly boss mods or bigwigs and it gives you warnings, and like that was kind of weird to me. Now you literally, Liquid and Echo have professional WeakAura developers, and these packs are giant. These packs that they make for these mythic raids are bigger on average than probably every WeakAura combined that the average WoW player uses. And you're downloading this WeakAura pack, and like it has like all this stuff where you have to like program a note and have people's names in there, and you're like writing lines of code in the note, and like you have to, there is just so much stuff going on, man. Like we had a guy step in who was helping out in our raid who's like we'll call him a very good player in another game, but and also plays WoW semi-seriously. And he was like kind of wanting to try Mythic Raid, but doesn't really like, want to commit all the time or whatever. And he stepped in just for a couple days with us because our roster. And we're like, all right, you got to download this, and then you got to download this. Okay, now this WeakAura. Okay, do this. Now download this WeakAura. Okay, now you do this kick tracker. Okay, this anchors the kick tracker. Okay, now you got to go into your bigwigs and you got to change these settings. And then like he's like messaging me. He's like, what the fuck is this, man? This is the worst shit ever. Like, is this what everybody does for every boss? And it's like Brood Twister. It's not even like the hardest boss in the raid. It's like freaking Brood Twister. And it's just like, I don't know. If there's one thing that I think is going way downhill way too fast that I don't like, is the WeakAura situation. And now like we're sort of having this problem where like people are saying that the Liquid WeakAura pack is like lagging them, and they're like having problems in the raid because of the WeakAuras, and we're like, people are lobbying for like this other professional WeakAura pack, and it's just like, I don't know. I really hate the WeakAura add-on situation in raid right now. I don't know a fix to it, but this meta of like 10 programmers design WeakAuras for the top raiders, and then it trickles down and everybody uses it for every boss. And now this is like a normal thing now, right? Now every single guild's using it, so now Blizzard has to make these bosses knowing that every single Mythic raiding guild has a professional WeakAura developer team that's doing stuff, and like you subscribe to their Patreon for faster updates now, and it's just like, I hate this meta. I really hate this meta.
Shout out Rello for releasing public WeakAura packs that the rest of us could use for if we don't have coders. Because without Rello, I'm pretty sure most of the guilds would not have had a working WeakAura pack for Brood Twister this tier. So, yeah, thanks Rello.
Yeah,
but have you seen the add-on, by the way, called the Octopals Verifier /Sender?
No, what is this?
So basically, you give your entire raid basically one WeakAura, and you're using a WeakAura to check WeakAuras for your guild.
Didn't MRT already do that?
They do, but they don't track specific. I guess it does work like that, but regardless, this is what people use.
A new and improved version of doing it now.
Well, it's mostly to check for versioning, because when a boss gets updated, like coming up with the Queen, Rella's gonna have to update the Shadowgate WeakAura and stuff like that. So having to get everybody on the same page with WeakAura is a giant pain, because somebody's not paying attention, or they lie, or for whatever reason. So yeah, people have created a WeakAura to check other people's WeakAura versions now.
I don't think anybody's out there lying. They're just like, this is bullshit, pull the boss.
You haven't been in our guild.
Yeah, it's updated, man. Pull the boss.
All right.
That's enough raid talk, I think. Okay, what is this thing that's in the show notes? It's titled Growl starts timing all +10s pug challenge. What is this?
All right, so I'm not gonna lie, the YouTube comments got to me a little bit. It's something that I've done in previous expansions. I haven't really been on the top of my content game lately, and I've been kind of thinking about, what if I, let me combine the two here. So I moved a character, and hopefully I can start releasing some stuff soon. I don't know how much information I want to give now, but I've been out in the pug streets. I renamed one of my characters, basically a guy who's never done any keys or any raid bosses before, and I just went into Group Finder just to see. Oh, another thing is I took off all my gold, so I had basically no gold, like 2,000 or whatever, because people complain about consumables and crafting and stuff too.
Really?
So not only yep. So I'm doing professions, I'm making gold, I'm trying to, and my goal is to self-fund and self-play, record every minute of it, and get all time 10s and see what pugging is truly like. So
what are you playing?
Remove your rated.
I guess I can say it because it's happening soon. I transferred my Resto Druid.
Oh,
I haven't even done.
Oh, you're playing
Yes.
Druid. Okay. Okay.
Yes, yes. I have a Resto Druid.
That's not on the meta, Growl. You do know that, right?
Yeah,
Tier
that
list
is
A
something
not on
that people have said that if you're not a non-meta class, I think as a healer, I definitely have a little bit more advantage in Group Finder than if I was a DPS, but I specifically wanted to make something that was like a class that I thought was super good, that was like be totally fine, but might not be considered meta right now with everyone playing Disc and Shaman.
That's
I
fair.
think it's interesting that you're not. I'm glad that you're not having to like learn the class while you're doing this experiment.
Yeah, well, so that's sort of my goal, is to just see what it's like and sort of like see the differences, right? Because people are saying that, and possibly true, right? The reason why I'm doing it is not to prove everybody wrong or to anything like that, but it's literally because like, well, yeah, I don't pug. Like, I don't know what it's like to be in there with low item level. And okay, what is it like when you list your own key and it's a 7? Who applies and what are keys like? And I just want to see. My goal is not to, oh, look at me, look at how good I am. My goal is generally to be like, all right, well, I played Druid last expansion, like I kind of know about it. Let's just see what it's like. Let's see how it feels pushing up. And I feel like already I'm sort of like getting a way better sense of like some of the complaints people are having and like the way people feel about the key system.
Okay, aside from no gold, what other self-imposed rules do you have?
So record every minute, no gold.
Did you
I'm
remove your IO
trying.
score?
I hid my IO. There's no link at all. No one knows it's me.
Okay.
I renamed my character. No one can see that it's mine. I'm trying not to. Like, okay, if I list a key or I join a key and there's overgeared people, I'm not really worrying about it, but I'm not really trying to be like, oh, there's a bunch of really good players, let me spin up my key or whatever. Like, if I like get Omega carried, I'm not really gonna, I'll just like stay with that group and try and get way up. I'm mostly going like key by key, pug by pug. I think if somebody like, I'll be honest with you, if somebody messages me and they're like, this guy in this +6 key is using his kick and his roar and healing everything, and some guy like makes an effort to try and add me or whatever, I don't know, like maybe I'll play with him more. We'll see where it goes with that, but I'm not trying to overgear or make it super easy. I'm kind of just like joining pugs and seeing what happens. But other than that, like not really any other challenges. I'm using my main just normal UI that I use and normal add-ons, and yeah, no friends at all. Like even though I'm in offline mode and I have a weird name and no one will know it's me, if I see somebody that I know, I'm not going to join their group.
You can still, even if you're playing in offline mode, you can still see, like, if you're tracking it through, like, the who window or whatever it is, you can see, like, if somebody, even on your friends list, is, like, listing.
Yeah, so it is possible that someone who has me added will know it's me or see me, but I have not done any keys or plan on doing any keys. There was one situation so far where someone who was on my friends list applied to a key and I knew he's way overqualified. And he didn't message me or ever say anything about it, and I didn't accept him. But I don't plan on.
What are your goals?
Anybody I know.
What are you trying to accomplish?
Probably time all 10s. I do kind of want to dabble to see what the 12 area is like, but I'm worried that, I mean, I know it's going to take a long time. Like, I know that's not easy, and I'm going to have to get a lot of gear, and I want to release some content now that will help people in this current season, and I worry that if I drag it onto 12s, it's going to take too long. So my goal, I think, is all-time 10s with those restrictions, and then just sort of see what it's like to move up the ranks. Maybe I'll continue it later and like post, just to see, or pug 12s or something.
Try to pug title or something, maybe.
The title might be a little rough.
Dude, title seems... Title,
well,
unrelated,
exactly.
Title seems like a pain in the ass to pug, like more so than ever before this season. It seems so brutal.
It's brutal. Oh yeah, the 11 to 12 jump is brutal. I don't really have a great answer to it, but it's weird because... Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, where are you starting, like gear level? Like, is it like I hit 80 at like 500 and something?
So
like...
I've done a couple different series in the past. So my very first series was absolute fresh. Like I literally just started in normal dungeons.
That sounds
no
awful.
Gold, no anything. and the point of that series was sort of to show that it's possible for like a brand new player who's just starting World of Warcraft. And I was literally like teaching the difficulties and stuff in that series. The mage video was like I gave myself a little bit of starting gold and made things a little bit easier and like was mainly about learning mage. This one is kind of in between. So the character I started on was 609. It was either 607 or 609, and it was basically what you'd expect from somebody who plays casually. They do the world quests and they do delves, and they have a couple delve vaults and they have a couple, maybe one map item, and then they're like, maybe I'm gonna try Mythic Plus. Like that's kind of what I was going for with. So it's definitely overgeared. Like spoiler, I don't really struggle in +2 keys at 609, but it's definitely not the gear level that you'd expect to see in a +10, I think. But eventually, I get items and I gear up and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, you can start off with your 4 set as well from Catalyst and stuff like that too. So you're not
right, but everybody can do that.
Well,
right?
yeah. I'm just saying you're not starting from like poverty gear or anything like that.
Exactly, it's not super poverty. I don't know why I did the gold thing. I guess because I
gold thing sounds so annoying, by the way.
Well, okay, so part of my thinking is like people are saying LFG is brutal, people are saying gold is brutal, and I kind of just want to like see, like if I'm a random guy who's just like playing the game, like if I just walk over to the herbalism trainer and learn herbalism, and I just walk around an herb while I find groups, like how much gold will I make? Like what will I be able to afford? Like what is reasonable? Obviously the efficient thing to do is to have a job.
Wipe your credit card. Yeah.
Right. Wizard knows that, and that's why that option's available. But if you're somebody who doesn't want to do that, or you don't want to spend the money, like what is it like, right? Like, will you be able to have all your enchants and stuff? Like, are you gonna have nothing? Like, what's it? Am I gonna be able to craft an item? Like, once I get my first 90 gilded crest, am I gonna have to have an herb sesh? Like, what? I just want to see what life is like if you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of gold and just wants to try and spin it up.
Yeah, I mean that sounds great. How much have you actually done? Like, was this sort of...
Are you done?
I'm in the process.
Okay.
I'm in the process. I don't want to spoil too much about where it is, but I will say that to talk about one thing that I most identified with in terms of like a problem that I see a lot is I'm getting spoiler again, right? I don't struggle in the 2 or 3 keys or whatever, but once you start getting into the higher keys, the 7s, 8s, whatever, you start to realize like, okay, these mechanics punish you, right? Like if you don't do this right, it kills you. The problem is like, how in high keys, it feels like the damage is way too high and the mobs don't live long enough. You know what I mean? Like the scaling is just a little bit off.
Yeah, the scaling's a bit off. Yeah.
Honestly, sort of the same in pugs. Like in low level keys, it's honestly maybe even a bigger problem in the sense that like, if you lust, you just like blow up a boss in like 45 seconds. Like your team might kill the last boss of Arakara and have no idea how to deal with how to get out of the puddles or how to dodge them or like where the lines go. And so you can literally get up to like 7s or 8s keys. And like, even if you know the mechanics, you don't really know how to handle them. Like people just fall over and like, you use battle reses and you just keep going. Like just it's kind of, I don't really have a good answer to it, right? It's almost as if, and I've seen this in the comments too, where people are saying they don't prepare you for 7s, 8s, 9s, and it's like, do they make lower keys harder? Are lower keys easy? Right? Yeah, right. That's a hard one. Yeah. I don't necessarily know if that's right, but like, if only, I don't know, like if only there was some way where they don't necessarily make the lower keys harder, but they still sort of like beat the mechanics into you, or like, like. And WoW, there's always this, in everything in life, really, there's this path of least resistance. And it's like, if you're doing an Arakara and a +6, why would you come up with a, okay, you stand here and you stand here and you dispel you, right? Why would you do that when you can just press lust and like run in and right and not really have to think about it? And so you end up with this situation. The best example I think a lot of people will relate to, if you've ever watched Mythic Kaiveza, is the difference between, has anyone pugged heroic Kaiveza versus Mythic Kaiveza, right? Like Mythic Kaiveza, it's like, okay, everyone go around the boss and you place the portals and you stand here. In heroic Kaiveza, it's literally a free-for-all. It is the dumbest thing you've ever seen. If
yes.
It'll literally be 7 portals in like one small pie slice of the room, and there's just this vacuum sucking your whole team, and it's like no one. But the thing is, like, you can still kill the boss that way, right? Like everyone just YOLOs the portals. If they're bad portals, you just run and hope that you don't die, and you know what I mean. And so that, imagine if like you had to pug Mythic Kaiveza, and it's just a bunch of people from heroic Kaiveza that have no idea what the portals do. That's like kind of what going in that jump from mid to high keys is like. you have a group of people who aren't necessarily like bad. They just like haven't really thought about or had to deal with these mechanics yet of like, what do I do? Like, for instance, the City of Threads, like first boss, right? Where it's like, well, you just lust that boss and like, your tank just kind of grips you and you get pulled around. If you get stunned by an orb, who cares? And then you get into a 10 and it's like, you dispel one guy and then the orb stuns the tank and then he gets one shot by the tank buster and the key's over. And like, you might not even lust that boss because you're lusting, all the trash early is so hard. And it's like the difference, the difficulty jumps, the jumps in difficulty are so big. And I don't really have a great answer, but I've definitely noticed what people mean by, they're not really prepared for these yet, or they don't. WoW just doesn't really do a good job to prepare you for the harder content if you're not willing to step outside the WoW sphere. If you're subscribed to Tettles on YouTube, if you're listening to the Bench podcast, if you're watching Dorky's stream, you know how people deal with these mechanics. But if you're somebody who just logs in and plays the game, like, you're going to get completely owned if you walked into a City of Threads 9 and the highest one you've done is a 6.
I think part of it is just like, for somebody that doesn't really know what's going on, it's really tough to tell whether or not a healer is expected to fix a lot of the mistakes that people make, making them not even realize that they made a mistake. Which kind of leads to my point too, that mistakes are.
Delivery?
Yeah,
I want a food delivery.
Yeah, hold on. I need to prop food.
Mistakes are difficult to like identify. The only way you learn is when you know you've made a mistake, right? I think that is kind of the biggest thing. If you know you made a mistake, you know that you probably need to do something differently. And the biggest source of knowing that you made a mistake is when you die, which makes things really hard when you don't die to realize that you need to change something. Especially at the lower keys where Growl says where a healer just is expected to fix most of those mistakes. And Growl probably fixes a lot of those mistakes.
I will say, I think that there are some situations which you can be put in a pug which are almost unwinnable. I hate pugging Necrotic Wake for this exact reason, because you stroll up to a Marth, and a Marth for some reason requires 5 interrupts to go in the right exact spot. And if they don't go in the correct spot, then you can just die to the boss. And it's a situation where, in my opinion, that it feels very unwinnable in a lot of times, unless you have people in voice and you're like, all right, you're kicking the volley, and you're kicking the volley, and you 3 bozos are kicking the boss. And like, unless you do that exact situation, something's going off, whether it be the volley or the boss bolt, or you have a prop paladin who's just chain shielding the boss, and that feels terrible.
I mean, but you think about a new player, how are they supposed Is it expected of them to do a kick rotation to the boss?
Well,
is that what they should know?
Blizzard has stated that it is. Should it be? Now, I would be of the opinion that probably not. But
right. All right, let's say you're a pug. You have no idea what you're doing. You're on a 6 Necrotic Wake and you die to a Marth. What is your conclusion there?
I don't pug Necrotic Wake anymore. I'm never plugging this key again. This key fucking sucks.
That is the conclusion.
The conclusion is that, or the healer didn't heal me enough. It's not we should have kicked more. It's the healer didn't heal me enough. And then I think that's the fundamental problem with pugs a lot of the time, is that is the conclusion. But, back to like one of the knobs that they can tweak is they could add more percent-based transitions, especially in Mythic Plus. Like if the boss, the Arkar last boss, cast her suck at exactly 33 and 66% every time, no matter what your key level is, you will get 2 of them. Which
I'm a fan of that for high keys as well, right? I mean, I don't know if that's the best example, but like that is a good point that like, make people. I don't want to say.
I'm pretty sure that thing one shots you on. Does that thing one shot you at a 2, Growl?
What ability?
The suck. Oh, it does a lot of damage
on Arakara.
Yeah.
No, my DK actually stood in it in a 16 today and lived with AMS and IBF up in Lichborn.
Okay, that's a DK. But that's a Frost DK. They are like immune to magic damage, man.
He said I want to test something, and I go, stop.
Yeah, that happened in my key too. My DK lived, but unfortunately he also had grippy hands active, and so I did not live.
That boss is great for weekly 10s. 1 kick away.
I don't know. Let's do some predictions in terms of what we're going to see from GROWL'S Pug Challenge. What do we want to start with predicting?
I guess the first thing is, how long do you plan on doing this for? Like, what is your like metric here?
All-time 10s, I think.
All-time 10s?
All-time 10s?
Yep. Let's see. Well, maybe I can. Maybe I can pitch some stuff. What do you guys think are like some of the hardest bosses or hardest keys maybe that I'm gonna run into that I might get stuck on?
Amarth, I think, is gonna be fucking annoying. I think that one is.
I think Wake. Yeah. And GB, people struggle with that.
Like, you probably just want to fish for a prot paladin to invite for Wake, right? Like, I don't know. I think that Necrotic Wake comes off like very differently depending on what tank you have. If you have a paladin who's just shielding the boss over and over again, you're probably chilling. But
yeah, that's a good point. Tanks are. It's very hard to pick the tank class or player that you want in Group Finder, from my experience.
Yeah,
I think a lot of times you take the tank you can get.
This might be a hot take, but I think that you might be able to get all 10s within like 30 to 40 keys total.
Yeah, well, I mean, sort of like what Squishy said about the idea of the healer being able to clean up stuff. Like, I think I will be able to. Like, I think Druid's actually kind of a good class for this, right? Because I have a kick that's short, I have AoE stops, like I have the right dispels. I think if I was, it's not so much like, you know, because I know all the dungeons and I have a lot of the tools, I think this is a good class for it. Like, I find myself having a lot of agency over keys. And I can definitely sympathize with somebody who is playing a class that has less agency. And that's one thing that I wanted to kind of add on to my message about, and I think all of us will kind of agree with this, and we sort of assumed that it was obvious, but you know, we always talk about just improving yourself, playing keys, you know, list your own key in Group Finder, just trying to get better, focusing on you. The problem is, right, you're not going to time every key. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are, like, you're going to be put in unwinnable situations. And depending on your class, depending on your role, depending on, you know, all this stuff, you can be put in a lot of unwinnable situations. And the idea that, like, you know, you might go into a key and do everything perfectly, but if you don't have a curse dispel, like, you're going to be relying on someone to do those curse dispels. Or, you know, if you're not the tank, you're going to be relying on your tank to not pull 7 of the casters at the end of City of Threads that do the AoE thing and then blow up your team. And so, like, I think that's something that I want to add is this isn't when we say, like, work on yourself, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, but you also have to keep in mind there's going to be a ton of failure. And one thing that I took away and why I wanted to convey that message is there was a key in the series where basically I'm getting just super omega turbo trolled by this tank. And it's like, for me, I'm sitting here, right? I'm laughing my ass off. Like, it's so funny. Like, I'm just thinking, like, oh man, this is going to be really funny.
You watch like, the situation,
relate to this.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is like, I don't have anything on the line, right? Like, I'm just gaming and I'm having fun. Whereas other people, like, you know, if you're really struggling getting this city 10 timed, and then you end up with this tank throwing your key away at the end, and it's like you're gonna get frustrated. And it's like, I feel like the most important thing that you have to take away that maybe I don't make obvious about pugging keys is that you're just gonna have so many keys get thrown away and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's just something that you have to deal with. You know, try and put yourself in the shoes of, you know, somebody who's just playing for fun or messing around. And it's like, it's easy to say, hard to do, but just don't sweat the results and just expect to fail a lot when you're pugging. Like, we say, oh, make friends, make a team, play together, blah, blah, blah. And I understand that not everyone wants to do that, but then you guys have to understand that, well, if you're going to accept that pug life, then you have to live and die by the pug life, right? Like, you're going to have 80% of the keys that you do depleted by someone else on your team because there's 4 out of 5 people you don't know. And I wanted to get that across clear, that just because we're saying focus on yourself, worry about your own skill, play well, that doesn't mean that you can time every key. It doesn't mean that you're going to have control.
And then after you improve to a certain point and you get a bunch of these keys on farm, then you're going to see those results in your own gameplay as well, where you're able to like play over whatever your IO is in some situations, or just be able to like have keys that you're previously struggling in be a lot easier. And so it's one of those things that it comes with time for sure. It comes with repetitions as well.
Yeah, I want to give a little bit of specifics too, to kind of like, if people are in that level and kind of confused, I think a really good thing you can do is, like, when I say focus on you, is set yourself a goal whenever you go into a key and really focus on that goal and not really the timing of the key. You know, like, 2 things I think are very, very obvious that everybody in pugs needs to work on, right? Number 1, using your interrupts and stops more. Number 2, using defensives better, right? And like, you should go into keys when you're pugging and set this goal for yourself that every single time I take any damage, I'm just going to press something. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if I'm wasting it. Like, just set a goal for yourself and focus on that. And dude, you're gonna get so much better and be so much like and is your damage gonna suffer a little bit? You know, if you're playing a mage and like every single time you're targeted, you like G-invis or press barrier. Yes, but like eventually you're gonna learn, right? Okay, this does 10% of my health. I don't need to barrier this. And you're, you know, over the long run, not only are you going to get better, but you're also like kind of in your own shell, and you're kind of taking your attention away from your other teammates and just kind of like, you know, helping your mental a little bit there too. So while I wanted to add some specifics and things, and I'll, you know, we'll talk about it more maybe on the next episode or when I release my videos or whatever, but I did kind of want to give people a little bit of a teaser and talk about it, and maybe we'll see some comments if anyone wants to predict how it's going to go or what you think or where people are going to what nonsense is going to happen.
Now, I will say anecdotally, something that you hit on there, I think that the two best things that you can actually be looking at, whenever you have like nameplate cooldowns that's either attached via bigwigs or weak auras or whatever, being able to preemptively know when you want to press your defensive or preemptively know what you should be looking to kick and when you should be looking to kick, those things turn you from like a good player into a great player. Being able to like have that knowledge in advance of, oh, okay, so I'm looking to kick this here in 6 seconds, and not just whiffing your kick into something random. And same with like your defensive, just knowing there's a situation of, oh, I need a pre-defensive this, or I need a defensive this at this very specific moment, as opposed to, like Growl said, just pressing the defensive on CD. Of course, if you're going from not pressing the defensive at all to pressing it, that's a huge leap. But going from pressing your defensive and going through the motions to, I know the exact spot that I should be pressing it, that's a huge step up as well.
Dude. The number of times that I see people, they get scared because they take a huge burst hit, then they press their defensive, and there's nothing after the defensive. Like, you get hit for like a big boss AoE for 5 million damage, takes out a 5% health, and you're like, oh shit, defensive. Except after that boss AoE, the boss does nothing but melee attack your tank for like 10 seconds. Just like,
that's a classic. There's lots of that. There is lots of that so far already.
If you get hit to like 5%, and your options are don't press a defensive and maybe die, or press the defensive and still maybe die, like, please press the defensive. But yes, obviously you should have pressed it before we've gotten hit for 90% of our health.
Honestly, more than defensive, dude, health pots this expansion are a lay on hands. Like, what happened to health pots this expansion? They're this is 2 times as good as other things.
This is common for very beginning of expansion health pots. Yeah. Next season, health pots are still going to heal for the exact same flat amount, and it's going to be instead of 100% of your health, it's going to be 80 or 75 or whatever. And then the patch after that, we're going to have the same health pots again, and it's going to be for 45% of your HP. That's just how it is.
I swear they were not this good in the last expansions.
Did we talk about the other pots? That might be my tip of the week.
Wait, no.
I feel like we talked about them before.
I have no idea what you're even talking about.
The delve ones? The delve ones.
Oh, the ones that are your
So, okay, so tip of the week. So if you're somebody who doesn't use pots and keys like damage pots, which is literally everybody, there's a potion called Cave Dweller's Delight, and it's literally, I think it drops from like delves or whatever, and it's literally a health and mana potion that heals for almost as much as a health potion. So you actually have 2 health potions that you can use, and they have different cooldowns. So that's something that I've been doing a ton as a healer, because I mean, let's be honest, using like a stat potion or whatever for a healer is not very high value, and so you can actually use one of those potions as another defensive when you're in trouble. And like, it's actually, you know, you can have like one potion be your emergency potion where you're like saving in case you're about to die, and then literally just slam that Cave Dwellers thing anytime your health goes below 50 and you think you might be scared, and it's like, dude, that thing is actually so good.
I would never buy damage potions until you're like trying to push for rank 1 title. Like, I'm gonna be honest,
doing damage is fun. I mean, I don't know. I agree.
It feels like gold efficiency, so expensive. Potions are so fucking expensive, man.
Yeah. I mean,
I haven't bought very many rank 3 things yet.
Yeah.
Rank 3 things are quite expensive.
I'm still not buying rank 3 damage potions or health pots.
Wait, what?
Are you buying rank 3 potions, Growl?
I mean, I have a lot of money on my main. I mean, I buy everything. I make feasts for my
insane flex, so. But anyways.
Yeah. You know, I got some funds.
Rank 3 is barely over rank 2, I'm pretty sure.
I will say, I don't understand why. I don't understand how I would even have gold if I just didn't do sales. I feel like I'd just be broke permanently.
I mean, this is a whole nother rant that we won't get into, but that is just the nature of any game that has RMT, right? Like any game where you can exchange gold for money, it's like, well, the economy, like it's so much more efficient to make money in the real world and then bring it into the game, so that every single game that has RMT is just going to revolve into people who are paying money, right, to get gold, and then everyone else, the only way to make gold is to do business with those people and do, you know, either sell them stuff or sell them carries or whatever, or boost them. And then, you know, I mean, let's be honest, right? If you couldn't buy gold, there's no way people would be paying 2 million gold for a timed 14 or like 10 million gold for a mythic raid clear, right? Because how, dude, imagine herbing 10 million gold.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Like buying a raid clear, like no one does this, right? The only reason is because some guy who makes $250,000 a year is like, yeah, whatever, you know, I'll pay for this. Like, I don't care. This,
Yeah.
You know,
like also, did you say 10 million for a full raid clear?
Oh wow, how much is it? I don't know.
Do you know how much they are right now?
I have no idea.
Ansurek Mythic is probably like unsellable except for by like 5 guilds or something.
The full clear is like over 50 million right now.
Yeah.
With loot.
It's like, insane. That's out of control. I mean, it's just out of control. Like, isn't even possible to make that gold. Like, imagine in a world, just in an imaginary world where there was no RMT, right? You could never RMT. Is it even possible to make that much gold for one person?
You have to be the goblin and like flip a lot of stuff in the auction house. Like, you'd have to be savvy with gold making. There's a lot of people that do it, like TSM.
There's some freaking might who does it, but they're
I
few
went
and
on
far
an
between.
auction house adventure one time. You know, everybody knows this. You know how you like go to buy a material on the auction house, right?
Yeah.
And then there's always like one material that's listed for like way undervalued. So for example, like there'll be an ore that's like 100 gold normally, but then some guy will list it at like 49 gold, and then he'll have a bot, and then if anyone else just auto lists the thing, he'll just buy your item instantly. And it's like two different bots, like one that only lists one material at a time, and then the other bot that buys it. And I was trying to figure out how to do that just as like a fun stream thing or whatever. Dude, it is actually crazy. I didn't even realize like the depth that I was stepping into of like, there's all these like you know how raiders and like high-end plusters have these like weird macros and stuff that they use that like the average people don't know. There's actually like secret auction house macros where you have to like subscribe to these people's Patreons and like learn how to click buttons on your screen automatically that Blizzard doesn't want you to click. It's like a crazy world that the secret auction house flipping shit. So I guess there is a way you can make that gold, but it's a little wild.
I guess I'll say my tip of the week then. Right now, concentration crafting is a good way to make gold daily. So if you didn't know, with professions, they replaced one of the stats coming to War Within, and it's a button that you can click called concentration. What that does is it ranks it up to the next level. For profession specifically, it basically means you can turn rank 2 mats into a rank 3 material and make a lot of gold off of it, but you can only do it, you know, once a day-ish, depending on your skill. Concentration is per character. So the more characters you have, the more characters you set up, the more money you print a day. And it gets quite lucrative. There are a lot of people who have a lot of alts who are just kind of raking in cash every day. So if you have a lot of alts,
give the real tip. What professions, what items do you know specifically?
Enchanting, enchanting and weapon patterns. If you have any of the weapon patterns for enchanting, those are all lucrative. I do those. Those are pretty good.
Enchanting is good. Inscription's good. Blacksmithing's good.
Wait, what do you do with inscription? Do you know?
Inscription, you can do missives, Vantis runes, contracts. Basically, pick a thing. The biggest thing with inscription right now is multi-craft is insanely lucrative for inscription. There's like a node that is like it's plus multi-craft.
Yep.
And if you fill that up, whenever you multi-craft with inscription, you get like 5 or 6 times the results if you multi-craft. So basically craft something and hope you multi-craft is the inscription tip. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can craft with that. Blacksmithing, you craft materials. That's really good. What am I missing? I mean, herbing and mining is still really good. More so on the mining side, you just farm bismuth and get rank 3. So like, there are still decent ways to get money. Some are more involved than others, but if you just want to log in on each of your characters every day and press a button and make gold, like with the good old WAD days, it's a decent economy right now.
To piggyback off that tip too, I don't know how many people do this or this is a thing, but so what concentration does, right, is it lets you be able to make high quality stuff with low quality mats. And generally when you go into trade chat and you like go to get an item made or whatever, they just say use all rank 3. But I mean, crafters can also use concentration to get you like technically could make you a high quality item with lower quality mats. So if you know somebody or like it seems like okay, if you ask one of the trade cartel guys or like a bot or whatever in town, they won't do it. But like if some guy answers your trade or seems like just a normal person who will talk, like you could probably barter and be like, hey, can you use your concentration and can I use these mats or whatever? You might be able to save gold there. Like I do it randomly because like I'll have noobs like send me crafts that are like just low quality mats or like broken stuff, but like I just will like spend my concentration for them for free, which I don't really think people will do, but maybe they'll do. I mean, I'm not spending it anyway, right? Like it's just sitting there and it builds back up, so why not? But so if you're like really broken, you're like, oh no, how do I get, because I mean some of the crafts are like still 50 60 70,000 gold, but you might be able to save like 20 or 30,000 if you say like, hey, if I give you an extra 10k, can I use rank 2 mats or whatever? Like someone might say yes. You might be able to save a lot of money if you're making like a two-handed weapon or something that's like pretty expensive.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about the Warcraft Direct or the WoW Direct, whatever the hell this is.
Oh, HC hype. HC hype.
All right, Squishy, leak all the information. Put the information in the bag.
This is where Squishy leaks everything that will be announced in the Warcraft Direct on the bench and go.
Well, the Warcraft 30th anniversary Direct is this Wednesday at I believe, what is it? It is 12:45 my time, so that would be 9:45 Pacific AM. We don't know too much about it other than there's a special surprise for retail apparently. Let me link you here because it just came out right before the show.
A special surprise for retail. What are they like? Are they announcing?
I don't know.
Next patch.
So basically the stream went up on YouTube, so there's a countdown to it now.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, for the WoW stuff, it says relive the evolution of the world's most beloved MMORPG, discover what's next on the horizon for both WoW Classic and Modern, and a special announcement at the end.
Y'all are some fucking sweats that you guys noticed the description of the going live post for the 30th anniversary is this, by the way. I cannot believe that you realize
we're good at our jobs.
Okay, anyhow.
But yeah, so what could this special announcement be that would surprise
people? So they already announced Plunderstorm's coming back.
Yeah. Dude, what if they release another roadmap and all there is just another flag, like with
another pirate flag?
I mean, so like the stuff that's like, you say, what would like majorly surprise you? Like WoW 2, like we are like in deep.
WoW.
No, but they've already announced expansions. Like there's things that like you'd be like that would majorly surprise you.
Maybe what's next after that expansion?
Okay.
There's no way they do. There's no way they do another. They've announced 3 expansions in advance. BlizzCon's coming back, maybe. Like it's something.
That's cool. That's
well,
cool.
No. But you're like, what would surprise you? They've already announced 3 expansions in advance. Like I can't even figure it out. I don't know.
All right, they're announcing a new format in the game, a new advanced delve. And it's a 5-man delve, but it's like a single raid boss encounter, and it drops mythic loot. So you take a team of 5 people in, and it's like a 6 to 10 minute encounter where it's like reasonably challenging, and then you do it once per week or whatever, and then it's like a hard mode 5-man raid boss.
Ooh, I mean that's 5-man mythic. What if they bring back like 10-man mythic or something?
That would be
wild. Okay. That would cook. That would go hard.
Like maybe because maybe like the main patches are like 20-man, and then they do like on off patches they do like a smaller like 2-boss 10-man mythic thing. Like that could be cool.
That could also cook. I will say I worry that people wouldn't be as interested in that because it's, the non-serious content. I would love to see if they actually just like revisited raid difficulty size or something like that. If they threw a wrench into mythic rating somehow as well, I would be all on board for that. They changed the formula for mythic. That would be cool. That would surprise me.
Another thing that they haven't taught. I mean, this is like not very fun, but another thing that they taught that I feel like is on the table eventually is another mop remix thing, right? Like remixing another expansion or
Oh.
having some sort of an other
Yeah.
expansion
Yeah.
event. I don't think that's that cool or surprising, but I think that that's always on the table for. I don't know. I mean, I don't have any expectations for something like this. I think it's like, it is what it is.
I could see them
No,
going Legion remix and be like, this is the
Yeah.
big surprise. I could see them hitting that.
Yeah. The interesting thing that I'm rereading this again. I originally read it as like they call it modern here, but retail special announcement. But it's in the same line as WoW Classic and Modern. So maybe something that like affects both. Like, or maybe it affects WoW Classic. Like, do you think they would ever do like a brand new expansion, but on the Classic side?
Oh,
Like,
like
using
an
old-
OSRS diverging of the timeline type.
Yeah,
beat?
like because there are a bunch of people who like the old,
Holy
old
shit.
class design, right? Like, I think it's maybe.
I could see them hitting a
I
new
don't know,
SOD season, maybe.
Hold on, I might be self-outing that I wasn't listening, but I thought you said it was specifically retail, or no?
Oh, that's definitely a self out. But no, so the thing says what is next on the horizon for both WoW Classic and Modern, and a special announcement at the end. So I thought that meant towards retail, but I think you could interpret it as like
Yeah, no, yeah, that's not. I don't say that's retail. Well, so if anyone's not following, by the way, there was a huge surge in popularity of Hardcore Classic, and then eventually Soda Poppin made a guild that I was a part of. He brought a bunch of other streamers in, and then it was like a pretty fun event, and it kind of died down. No one really gives a shit about Hardcore, at least so we. Hold on, I gotta stop him. No, someone is making a giant pyramid of emotes in my chat, and I just let him get away with it without interrupting him, even though my stream is offline. He
Wait,
knows who
so
he
you're
is.
streaming right now?
He knows. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. I saw it out of the. He knows who he is too. I'm not even gonna name him. All right.
he's gonna know when we record
Yeah,
this now.
yeah. All right. So, oh yeah. So Soda Poppin made this guild. Hardcore was popping off. It died down. Nobody cared. There's been a lot of like sort of excitement. There's been a lot of excitement about Hardcore again, and a lot of people who are like classic or SOD people have been playing it again. And there's basically a leak that something is going to happen with some sort of hardcore news in this thing. So I think
Interesting.
it's possible. So one of the big things that a lot of the classic players want is fresh servers. Like they don't necessarily want like Classic Plus or like SOD or like any crazy spins. Like they just like the idea of starting new with everybody and going through the game again and leveling up and that. And I think that I would like to see some sort of announcement for Classic Hardcore and just Classic of fresh servers, and maybe even other expansions too. I don't know, of seasonal fresh servers where like every 6 months a new server pops up. It's brand new. Everyone can play it. It releases the raids like pretty quickly, and then like, after 6 months it like merges, and then there's like a sort of like a ladder and non-ladder thing if you've played Diablo. I think I'm like fully expecting something like that is going to happen or be announced, and we'll see how good they do it or whatever.
I feel like rereading this, it's like discover what's next on the horizon for both WoW. Oh gosh, I was muted. I think rereading this, like reading it as like what's next on the horizon for both WoW Classic and Modern. This to me reads like, all right, what's happening next for Classic? What's happening next for Modern? So this is probably the new patch for Modern. Whatever is happening with Classic, probably like a new SOD season, maybe like new era servers like GROWL'S talking about. I could see either that.
Yeah.
Maybe they announce MOP Classic date because Firelands came out last Thursday or something like that, right? So, Cataclysm's going to be done eventually. So probably, they might put a date up for MOP Classic and then a special announcement at the end. And I think that this could quite literally be anything. This could quite literally be anything. This could go as far as like diverging of the timelines of Classic. You don't actually go into MOP after Cata, you go into a new expansion. Like it could be something as crazy as that. It could be something, WoW 2. I don't think WoW 2 because they've already announced expansions, but like, something, but it could also be something that's like not very insane.
To be fair, if they were going to announce WoW 2, they wouldn't announce it. They would announce it about now for like 2028. You would announce it like 4 years in advance or something.
I
feel like.
guess I'm not on that cope. I'm not on that cope. I'm out on the WoW too. Like I'm just saying that in terms of like this is what this could convey quite literally anything, or it could be something special like, you know, Mop remix. They're not Mop remix, Legion remix, right? Like this could actually quite literally be anything, in my opinion.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Girl?
Yeah, I'm not getting my hopes up. I mean, obviously it'll be cool and exciting if it's something for me that I enjoy.
We probably get a patch date. Like,
I mean, who cares? I mean, the problem is WoW is so formulaic nowadays. I think for that WoW enjoyers, I think if you're somebody who's a passerby or who doesn't play the game as often, there's a lot of like random cool little things. But I think for most people who like are regular WoW players, you know, they know what they're getting, right? New season, there's new dungeons, there's the raid. Like, I think I wish they would make a little bit more content for people like that, because I think even if like you don't have to be a tryhard to be that, right? Like to log in and do the raid and get AOTC and try a couple dungeons and like push up your score and then quit after a month, like lots of people play like that, right? Like I think some sort of like, you know, a mega dungeon or, you know, a little raid boss or two boss, like all those little things, I think they should, I wish they did more. It feels like every event like not really related to WoW enough, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing you brought it up earlier,
What is this?
Kettles, and we data mined this a while back on the Cataclysm PTR. We data mined 2 mounts that very Shaw themed, which is very interesting considering Cataclysm's ending soon. I wonder what that could be.
yeah, I mean, I think they just kind of stick to the course, right? I think that I could honestly see them announcing Mop Classic on this 30th anniversary. This feels like a big deal for Blizzard, right? The 30th anniversary direct, that seems like that's a big thing for them, and it's also happening about the same time that like a BlizzCon would normally happen.
Yeah, no BlizzCon this year.
Yeah, so there's no BlizzCon this year. This feels like this is their time to be like, yep, and this is the BlizzCon announcements that you would have gotten at BlizzCon, but we decided that it's too expensive.
No, would you actually, like, if Mob Classic was announced, would you actually play it?
I don't like Classic. I'm not like a Classic guy, and it's not due to the content, but it's due to like, how do we even start to begin to describe why I don't like Classic?
I guess I don't fully understand who Classic in its current state is for. Like, I think I definitely understood the appeal of Classic Vanilla all the way to Wrath in terms of how different the gameplay is. But so, for example, I played Classic Kata for one season, and you basically, it's like very, very, very similar to retail, just worse in my eyes. Like, you basically level up, except the leveling takes a lot longer, but it's not like vanilla leveling. It's just like, you know, longer leveling. And then you farm dungeons and get your prebis, and then the raid comes out and you do the raid and then you clear it, right? And then you're done. And like, there's not, it just doesn't really feel like there's that much other stuff to do. So like the people that I played with though are all people from basically like top end Mythic guilds who really enjoy raiding and raid in multiple games. And so these are people that are, number one, mostly done with Mythic Prog already, and then number two, like are just, you know, super raiders and like raiding in a lot of different games. But there can't be that many people that are like that. I mean, I don't know, maybe there are. And I guess maybe like maybe I'm talking backwards again, you know. Again, if you're kind of that guy who just logs in and you get AOTC and you don't have a Mythic guild, but like, you know, you still like raiding, and, you know, I guess I could see somebody playing retail for a month, like checking out the dungeons, getting AOTC, then maybe playing Classic Kata, and especially if you haven't played it before, like I could see, yeah, I don't know, maybe just, you know, log in, check out the raid, play for a month and quit. I guess to me, it just really didn't hold my attention. Like, I just didn't really have that drive of like, oh, I want to get this loot because I want to do Mythic Plus, and like I have a reason to log on because my friends are playing. Like, basically the only thing to do in my eyes in Kata right now is to just level alts and then just do the same thing again on another character. And so I kind of felt like my desire to log in after I cleared the raid was just a lot less fun, and it just wasn't there. But, you know, again, but I guess there's no reason that you can't do that, right? Play for a month, clear the raid, log off. But I guess like it just, like, to me, I didn't even really like raid logging, right? Because I didn't really have anything to do. Like, at least in retail, like, I don't know. Maybe people like raid logging. I don't know. I'm kind of talking in circles here.
I think for me, I think I was considering like the reasons that I really just don't like Classic, and I think the easiest way to describe it is I'm too hardcore of a player for Classic. I struggle to casually play video games just in general. Like I don't know if people are really like this, but for me, you know, anytime I play a different game other than World of Warcraft, I'm playing like the ranked version of that game mode. Like I'll play ranked TFT, I'll play ranked League of Legends, I'll play the ranked version of a shooter or whatever else I'm playing. And so I just in general struggle to play games like casually. And Classic is a very casual game just at its core. It's really difficult for it to like hold my attention for an extended period of time. And in addition to that, a lot of what Classic and Vanilla was leveling, and I hate leveling. I love playing World of Warcraft currently for in-game content. I think the combat system, I think the in-game content that World of Warcraft puts out is second to none. I think it is a very, very good game. What I don't like is the leveling, and Classic has a lot of leveling and then not a lot of cool end-game content in a way that satisfies how I want to play the game. And so that's why Classic personally for me is like never really, you know, been appealing. I've just never been like that guy.
I mean, I think that's fair. For me, like I played MoP. I played a little of Kata. I didn't play BC, and I played a little of Wrath. So I've played this already. I don't have any intention to go back. But it's also weird to me that if this is true, this is right after MoP Remix. I feel like normally you'd go back and like check out the content a little if you've never played it. But all of retail literally just got to play all of the MoP content. Granted, it was easier, but
I have a question. What did people do whenever MoP was current outside of prog rating? What did you like do in the game?
Challenge modes.
Challenge
PvP.
modes.
Did you do
challenge
modes?
Would be fun. I did not until the very end of the expansion.
Like what would you log in? Like would you log in multiple times a week? Like were you logging in every day?
Daily quest was a big thing.
And you had fun doing this?
I enjoyed dailies. I enjoyed world quests at the start of the expansion. I think it's fine. There was also a farm which wasn't in MoP Remix. People love that farm. You like planted your own herbs, you got like ore or like herb plants and stuff like that. That was something that people enjoyed. Yeah. So
I started in WoD. I would not want to replay WoD as a classic either, or Legion. I actually just don't like replaying classics. I don't know why. It's just not my bit.
I played BC. I don't think I have any reason to play MoP. I know people like MoP for the class design though. Because this is when Vengeance existed, right?
Yeah. Vengeance started in Kata from memory, and then they reiterated on it going into Mists of Pandaria.
Yeah, so I think tanks will have fun. I think you'll have a lot of people wanting to play tanks.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Class has never been my shtick. I think that HC is a lot more interesting than like Classic is, because hardcore is, you kind of have like a side bet on top of your normal gaming, right? I want the audience
to open their minds to the hardcore pitch that I'm gonna give.
All right,
I'm not doing it now. I'm not doing it now, but the audience has to be ready that I'm gonna try and convince people to play hardcore. And I'm not doing it now, but just keep that in mind that it is a very unique and fun experience that almost everyone universally that I've played with has enjoyed immensely. So just preparing everyone now. Don't get angry when it gets announced and then I try and pitch it on the next podcast.
I think that hardcore for WoW stuff, and like in other video games I've played like hardcore modes where you like die and you just like lose your guy gets deleted or whatever. I actually like those kind of game modes. Those are kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Not doing my pitch.
I personally don't like those, but you know, to kind of move on a little, we talked a lot about Classic. You know, what's next for WoW 11.1, whatever that's gonna be.
Why are you saying that with a big grin on your face? What is next for 11.1, Squishy?
I don't know.
Well, Squishy leaked it to me, and it's going to be a new zone and a new raid and a new dungeon rotation.
I can't believe you leak it like that.
Do we have a new seasonal affix?
All right,
probably
dungeon rotation. I mean, I think that's the big one that everybody wants, right? Like, what do you want to see or what do you not want to see from this dungeon rotation from previous dungeon rotations?
Man, so I hate to say this, but I really feel that it's true that Blizzard can just make any dungeon good or ruin it easily. And I think that it really doesn't matter what dungeons they bring back. It could be terrible or it could be great.
He's cooking. Hold on.
Am I wrong here? Like,
You're
I don't know.
100%
I think
right.
you were wrong. I think you were wrong in exactly one case. There is no saving exactly one dungeon.
Vortex Pinnacle.
No.
Oh, point for Tettles.
I was gonna say Toll de Gore because I don't think there's anything that they can do
Squishy going for
that
the man
would
of the people.
that would save Toll de Gore because no matter what they do, you are pulling through the ceiling and crying.
Well, yeah, that was cringe.
So
What I'm going to say about the dungeon rotation, I think that rotating dungeons each and every single season is a great change. I think it's actually one of the smartest changes that Blizzard could have made for the just the system in Mythic Plus in general. What I'm going to say is what I want to see with the dungeon rotation is just less complex dungeons as a whole.
yeah, they're coming for you, Tettles.
Yeah, I got
the comment section. The comment section's after me. I'm talking about the dungeon rotation, but
the police are after you now.
I know.
I mean, we have the 4 remaining dungeons. Probably we have the Dark Flame Cleft, which I think is looking to be the Brackenhide. I hope they know that one's gonna be looking terrible.
Oh yeah, that one looks sus.
With the darkness, what else do we have? We have the
Rookery, Meadery.
Rookery looks great. Meadery looks. I don't know. I've done that dungeon like once.
I think that dungeon's like cool. I don't know if it's gonna translate well to Mythic Plus. I think the dungeon looks cool.
Yeah. And then what's the last dungeon?
What dungeon?
The Paladin one.
Priori of Sacred Flame.
Oh, yeah.
That okay. So the Priori of Sacred Flame is for the exact reason that I think all of the dungeons that we currently have in this season are way too hard. That dungeon is the exact same reason that all of the dungeons that we have currently are too hard. Way too many casters, just way too complicated mobs. They have far too many mechanics. In terms of like the dungeon rotation, I don't have a problem with the dungeons, and I think that Growl is 100% spot on with identifying the fact that they can make any dungeon good or bad. It's kind of up to Blizzard at this point to kind of make that decision. But I think that like what I would like to see with changes with the dungeon rotations have nothing to do with like the dungeons, and it has everything to do with like the mob design.
Do you feel the same way about Shadowlands dungeons? I feel like it's too soon for Shadowlands dungeons. I did not want to go back this season.
I thought it was too soon whenever we got Mists and Wake, and I'm like, dude, do I really have to play these dungeons again?
Yeah. Like, if we saw Shadowlands dungeons there, I really hope I don't see another Shadowlands dungeon like this expansion, at least in season 2.
We're gonna get Alg Academy next season.
Almost definitely, there's gonna be one, right? Almost for sure. If there was 2 this season,
I think we have to be getting one. Which one will we?
I will say, I hope it's Plaguefall.
No.
What? Okay, what would you rather? Pick a Shadowlands dungeon.
All right, hold on, I'm pulling them up. I have to think.
Halls of Atonement.
Halls of Atonement. Yeah, Tazavesh. Either the Tazaveshes.
Gambit. Holy.
Yeah, either the Tazaveshes, Halls of Atonement.
Okay.
Honestly, I would also take Sanguine Depths.
No, but
I don't care. Listen, you're asking me what I would rather play. I'd rather play the Tazaveshes. The Tazaveshes are cool.
They've done Tazavesh twice already, right?
No, they did it once.
Oh no, they did the other mega dungeons twice.
Yeah.
The other mega dungeons were in the Tazavesh season.
Yeah. Then
okay, got it.
All right, hear me out.
One thing I'll say though,
as long as it's not Spires of Ascension, they can make it good or bad. If they pick Spires of Ascension, I think that they're in Siege of Borealis territory of generational garbage dungeon.
What are we gonna say, Growl?
I was just gonna say, God, it must not have been that important because I'm forgetting about it. Now it is a little annoying that they have to bring back like so many dungeons in terms of like, dungeons that people didn't like or too soon. But I will say that the nice thing about the dungeon rotation is that it's only for a season. Like while I wasn't quite excited to see Mists and Wake, like, we deal with them for one season, then they're gone again. It's not like they're, thinking about bad dungeons in the past, Shadowlands and before, where you have to sit with those dungeons for 2 years. I feel like I mind a lot less the dungeon rotation now being not so good. And I don't know. I'm like really coming to terms with the idea that Mythic Plus, if you're pugging, it'll be very limited to how much fun it'll be. And then if you have a group of friends who are playing every day, it's very, very fun. And it really doesn't matter about anything else. Like whether it's like, BFA crazy, stupid corruption stuff, or whether it's Shadowlands dungeons or this stuff or rotation. Like if you have friends that you're logging in with and like you get home from work or like whatever, and then you log into your game and you see like your 2 or 3 buds on, you're like, oh, where's the 5th guy, and you like play. Like, bro, I feel like I'm still just I'm actually in a little bit of a disbelief how fun this season's been for me, and I understand that not everyone's enjoying it, and I have I'm very fortunate with the group and people that I have to play with, but like I'm still just having so much fun, and I don't really think these dungeons are that good or the season's that good.
No. I think state of the game and like who you're playing with almost dictates so much of the enjoyment.
Yeah, class
of the
design
game.
too. I do want to add class design too.
Yeah.
I've been really enjoying current Disc Priest, and I feel like that has a lot to do with it as well.
I mean, on the topic of class design, like what I feel like with every major patch they do changes.
Yeah.
Like as of recently, what classes do you feel like are most in need of a rework?
What are we trying to do? What are we trying to accomplish?
I don't know.
Snap reaction. You got to give Priest an interrupt, and honestly, give them a talent that makes Life Grip a Death Grip style effect. Please, God, I hate Priest being NPCs in dungeons. I hate it so much. And
it's so funny, bro. Tettles has been complaining about how my healer's a shaman. I don't have a priest. Like, man, it would be so nice to have a Disc Priest. Now you can tell he's actually playing with a priest.
No,
before I would listen to him say like, "Oh, we have a shaman. Like, this is so bad." I'm just thinking, "Oh, just wait till you're playing with a priest."
Listen, the shaman is bad because the damage sucks. The priest is bad because the priest isn't doing anything.
I mean, for me, I feel like, dude, I don't understand how they're keeping healer priest down as the only specs without an interrupt. Like,
it's so obnoxious.
It is crazy to me, and it's like it's not a problem. It's not a problem. But
I say take away the interrupts from all the other healers. I don't say give priest an interrupt. I say take away every healer.
I can be fine with that as well. I'm down for them to remove all the interrupts from the other healers. And reducing the amount of kicks that are required in dungeons, that's also fine.
Yeah.
But like, please.
So you were talking about what classes need reworks. I feel like Blizzard is in the kitchen a little bit too much, and I feel like with the talent trees and all the reworks, there's just so much that every class can do, both utility-wise and defensively. Obviously, there are exceptions here or there, but if you just compare every single class, tanks and healers included, with what they were like 2 expansions ago, it feels like they make all these like you're talking about making the dungeons way less complicated, but the problem is like with how good all the classes are, like they really do need to make these mechanics so convoluted to ever have a risk of you dying. Like unless your argument is like when you're doing keys and you're a decent team, you should never be at risk of dying. I feel like they really have to thin down classes and start removing defensives and utility stuff. If
I'm all in on a utility and defensive disarmament. Like, I will be a supporter of that. I know that some people will hate it because they were playing with this and now they no longer have these tools. But I think that I would love to see the complexity of the game being simplified a little bit, even if that's at the cost of 1 to 2 CC abilities per class and 1 to 2 defensives per class being removed.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I mean,
give DK a raid buff.
The last time I think they talked about the defensive disarmament, it was something like defensives have a lot of different use or something like that, and like people need defensives and delves and stuff like that. So that was an interesting. I hope they do it though.
I love Growl making that sound.
Personally, I think Shadow Priest, Psychic Link has got to go.
You want to rework Priest again?
I mean, that's the center of the bingo square, right? Like, it's the free space. It happens every time.
Buff Fire Mage is on there too. Yeah, good point.
Honestly, I think the one thing I hope for is they fix the atrocity that is the Druid class tree. That thing is an abomination, I hope they fix it before the start of the next expansion.
They're never fixing that shit, man. That shit's just they reworked it 4 times and it's still bad. Like I don't know what you want. Like all 3 of us have played Druid like in recent expansions, and it's still just the exact same really bad class tree as you got on launch.
It just doesn't work with 4 specs, man. They just gotta like slim it down to a good like 3 wide, and I think the class tree will be okay. Like
somebody was cooking, and they were just like put affinities at the top, and then you just like get like 5 abilities out of the first like affinity that you click. And I was like, this is it, please.
I'll just drop this with no context because maybe it's a talk for another day. But my cook with class trees is that they're great for leveling, and then when you're max level, you should just have every node.
Huh. So hero talents.
Yeah, basically. Where there are choice nodes, but for the like by the end of your leveling journey, you have every single node, and then
we got to get
choice nodes.
We got to get a Vade back on it. We got to get a Vade on this podcast at some point. Like he's got to take.
I don't know if he would.
I think he would. He's got to take about he has a take about talents that I think his take, and I don't want to like misinterpret it, but his take seems to be like this system is no better or worse than the last system, and he would actually prefer to go back to the old system of talents.
I agree.
There is the illusion of more choice here, but the choice is also choice paralyzation.
It's kind of like what he's saying. He's like, dude, there's you have more choice, but you actually don't have choice. This is ridiculous.
I think the right word is you have more customization towards a specific fight or something like that in my mind, but
yeah,
I don't know that we want to get into that right now.
But you still are in build. Like the thing that they wanted to remove with the new talent system was that they wanted you to not have to be playing builds, but you're only playing builds. You're not really moving a node, or like the node that you're moving is like, I got 2% haste here, and now I've traded that for 4 resource generation whenever I'm hitting a second target. And you're like, wow, that's cool.
I don't think Evade would ever come on, but I would love to have him on. I think he has great ideas.
I love Evade. Evade's one of my. He is like whenever you just like sit and voice with people and you just like shoot the shit and talk about WoW, he is like the best person to have in there because he has really well thought out opinions on like pretty much everything.
that was literally just what I was doing before this, because we did like maybe an hour or 2 before we started the pod. We just did like 1 or 2 keys, like just friend keys or whatever, and then we were just hanging out talking. I'm like, all right, we'll warm up, we'll yap and talk about stuff. Oh yeah, that guy's smart. I think the problem with the Vade is he almost thinks through everything like too much, and to the point where like a lot of people don't even understand what he's saying and like either misinterpret it or like aren't thinking about the levels of consequences and implications to the things that he is. And so like, like for instance, the idea that they should, like when we say remove defensives, for example, a lot of people, your first gut instinct is like, well, how do I live? All the dungeons do too much damage. And it's like, well, we're not saying make everybody weaker. We're saying, make things more simple to live and then design the encounters accordingly, And it's like, I feel like in order to interpret some of this stuff, you really have to like think through everything.
Okay. You guys have already talked about the cool stuff you guys have seen this week. Have you guys noticed that the dodgeball on Mistcaller is now just like no longer hitting the mobs? What's going on with that?
Yeah, I can't tell. I can't tell if my tank is bad.
It still does?
Do you think it does?
It does half the time. I don't know what caused it to hit the thing, but it absolutely still hits the ads.
I haven't had to hit the Vulpin in like 3 days, and there's like 2 specific runs that I've been in where the dodgeball will actually hit the ads, but the other 7 or 8 times I've been in there, it just doesn't hit them. What is going on with that boss? Do they change it?
I don't know, but sometimes it still randomly hits the clones, right? The clone you're trying to kill.
Yeah.
It just rips 20% off it for no reason, and I don't know why.
Bring that back. That was good.
It was a good mechanic, I won't lie. And then they fixed it, and I'm really sad, but
they didn't fix it. It still works sometimes.
We were doing a high miss, and Terrathal pointed out that he read in one of your videos YouTube comments that the way to do it is you have to tank the boss on the outside of the room and aim the arrows in. And so we tested that, and we can confirm that guy has no idea what he's talking about.
We tried the same thing too.
Did you really? You read the YouTube comment? Oh no. Some random YouTube guy is just laughing in his room because he just is like griefing our teams.
That is peak like spread misinformation on the internet. You know what's funny? I bet it probably worked for him, but then he's like, "This is it. This is the solve," and then it just wasn't the solve.
I love that when you just
I'm
like
pretty
think
sure.
you got the superstitions or whatever.
There's a lot of things to test, and I'm sure somebody will, but it just randomly works. Like I think people saw it got fixed, and so people stopped trying. But usually there's gonna be a melee in the correct spot because the melee is gonna be on the ad, the boss is gonna be slightly off, so the melee one's gonna go to the ad, and sometimes it just hits still, and I don't know why, but I've definitely noticed it. I've clocked it.
Did they change anything in the spell data for the boss at all, Squishy? Like,
remember in MDI when that run where the ball killed the observers? I bet it has something to do with that. You remember that?
Okay. Yes.
Oh yeah, we didn't really talk about MDI because who cares? Oh yeah, we forgot about that this episode.
That did happen.
MDI happened.
That's fine. We'll talk about the MDI probably after the global finals or something. Probably. I don't know. Maybe that was their. I don't. Oh no.
I wonder then if it's like a Z-axis thing.
Well,
where,
so
like, somehow randomly in a specific spot, like with the Z-axis, you can still hit, but like it is I don't know.
Well, so it killed the observer because it was able to pierce their god mode protection, and so I assume that the fix was not having it do that.
Well, I mean, maybe they might not have fixed that.
Well, they fixed it. I know that they fixed it.
Well, this has been going on. I mean, maybe. I have no idea, but it might even be something like weird, like exactly one ball can hit the clone, and maybe it's like
God,
and just a random one, maybe it's the tank one, or I don't know. Like
Only the tank ball can hit it,
dude.
The worst part is there's been dumber mechanics. Like, that's
dude,
not even out of the realm of possibility.
My co-host has insane voodoo about the boss now. You're just as bad as my YouTube commenters.
Dude, what if you have the tank stand on the other side so that it goes through, and because the boss is targeting your tank, it's actually still targeting an enemy, therefore it counts as hitting an enemy and therefore hits the misc.
Word.
You should try it. It might work.
That's a good point. I'll try everything, honestly. I just want the mobs to get by the balls again. Alright, let's move on to some Q&A. First question we have from North Star. Hello, Illistus Podcast. You guys were talking last week about these hoarders who see any type of cosmetic reward as a must have to have with no work required. How should these people be handled? Should Blizzard just put every item, mount, title, and pet on the trading post at the cost of one tender so everyone can have everything? Do you guys like the current amount of FOMO rewards compared to evergreen rewards? With a few things going away and a few things staying for a while, should more things come back but be more difficult to obtain than originally?
I think my personal opinion, I think that having prestigious and rare stuff that you get is cool. I wish they had more cool, unique things. I think that having a mount that only people in Liquid use who got the world first kill and they only have it, even if it's like temporary for one season, I think would be really cool. I think if you were like the number one, IO score on your server, the number one guild on your server, having something cool like that, like I'm all for more and more and more cool stuff, but I understand that they're a little bit limited on their resources. I would say that the way that they need to combat FOMO is simply not to have anything be like, okay, this is gone forever, this is limited. I think they should have things appear in the trading post and basically like make it clear and communicate like, okay, these are the Plunderstorm rewards. It might be a while, but like you'll be able to get this eventually, And I think that like ever making something 100% limited edition does sort of strike that chord of like, this is FOMO and kind of like makes people do weird things because a lot of people play WoW to be a collector. So I think the whole meme about like, leave it on there for one tender is a meme. But I do think that like cycling through all of the rewards in the trading post at some point is a good idea.
To me, I think the prestige happens whenever you like, what was the process to actually achieve that reward? That to me is kind of like the prestige. And then with mounts and titles and MOG and stuff like that, the prestige was the process of being able to have it for an extended period of time. I think like the MOP remix and like the challenge mode sets are like a really good example of that. The prestige was you went out and got it. And the reward was that you had it for like 8 years or whatever. And now to me, it's kind of one of the situations that like I don't care if it comes back on the trading post or not. I think that for some of the people who just like that appearance, they probably should have the ability to be able to get it at a and while in the process it makes it less prestigious, but I think that like, is this thing from 10 years ago still really prestigious? And I think the answer to me is like not really. I think that what Growl said about the mounts and stuff like that for like world first kill, world first IO, rank 1 title, something like that, even if it was like a temporary thing, that's kind of cool. I think that would be kind of an interesting thing.
And to be clear a little bit, to clarify my point too, it doesn't have to be like only super try hard things, like, you know, whatever, right? Like I think they could totally do like, you know, silly stuff for like, you know, leave a little, you know, something for people who did the first delves, or for whoever has the most mounts on the server, or the most transmogs, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm cool with rewarding all different types of players for all different types of things. Like I use Mythic Plus and World First Rating as an example just because that's what I do, but I think having cool unique rewards for people who excel in all different parts of the game is cool. You know, they do sort of already have that, you know, like
there's PvP mounts,
X number of mounts and stuff. The PvP mounts are funny because like I don't know what it is about PvP, but like that's like reserved almost, right? Like I feel like the mount collectors never complain about PvP mounts, and like no one ever says anything about FOMO, but like anything else in the game is not acceptable, but for some reason the PvP stuff is.
That dude, that's what I was gonna say. It's just like it's a matter of expectation and framing things. Like for a lot of people, collecting a mount is, you know, is a +1. It's a number go up. And that's perfectly fine. If that's what you want to do, go for it. Nothing wrong with that. I think it's the expectation that people expect to be able to get every single mount. And that is a question of, for Blizzard, of whether or not they want to expect people to get every single mount, you know, for free versus working for it. I think, you know, if they gave the Mythic Farak mount out to everybody, I don't think it would have been as cool.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Do you agree that the prestige is lost as time goes on? You do agree with that, at least, though, right?
I think I agree with that. As time goes on, some of the prestige is lost. I am of the opinion that like nothing should be lost forever, though.
Yeah,
I think there should always be a case, which is why I'm so upset that the PvP elite sets just never come back once they're gone. Because there are some fucking cool sets that I would love, but like until that, I'm never touching PvP, and that's perfectly fine by me.
Yeah. I think it's
you
pretty
would touch
reasonable.
PvP if they came back?
I'd consider it. Like, would I 100%? If I could find a group, like, you know, my guild wants to just go bang our BGs for the rewards, that'd be down. Would I pug it? Hell no. But if I found a good, like, people that wanted to do it for these sets, yeah, I absolutely would.
Squishy Pugs PvP, that would be a series.
No.
Dude, I've pugged PvP before.
Yeah, when you were in your triple threat season.
Dude, they made PvP worthwhile in BFA and Shadowlands, and they had me slaving away.
Yeah, I believe Twitter told me that you cheated by playing Guardian Druid, though.
That wasn't cheating. That was ethical. I
heard that as well.
That was ethical. All right, next question. Not really much of a question, but I got a lot of DMs that were very similar to this. I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say after I read this out. It comes from 2 Joints. Listen to your last podcast and heard the idea of bringing someone on with 2500 IO. I left a comment about Tettles having L takes. I'd like to throw my name in the bucket if that's something you'd consider. I play a Resto Druid and usually in the season with between 2500 and 3000 IO. I've done podcasts before with a buddy that has about 100-ish episodes and listened to a ton of talk in sports radio. He linked the podcast.
I'll check it out.
I would love to do a mini convo with you guys to see if I can articulate what a lot of common players go through. I probably received no less than like 10 DMs that were like this. What do you guys think?
You should enjoy my Pug Adventures series where I play a Resto Druid in 10s then, huh?
This guy is a huge sub of yours.
I see.
I think part of it is Growl has kind of taken up that mantle right now. I'm not opposed to it. I think it depends where the conversation takes us, because I think that right there, we've talked about it a lot, and I don't know how much you guys want to keep talking about that.
I don't know if I want to keep hammering on it too, because it just agitates people so much.
Growl? as the pug expert now, apparently.
I would like.
Is
I
there
guess the
anything
main reason that we haven't done it is also like, what exactly would we talk about? Like, I feel like we all acknowledge that there are problems and difficulties in there, and like, you know, to bring on somebody and be like, okay, what should Blizzard do about it? I feel like is like a really, really big ask and probably wouldn't be that interesting or good. And like, I don't know. I would have to listen to the pod and maybe think about like what sorts of things people would want to hear. But actually, you know, maybe in the comments, if somehow you guys made it this far, let's say we had somebody, let's say not like a full episode, but like a 15-20 minute segment, what would you want to hear from that person if we got somebody who was in that range? If you would want to hear from them.
I will say I'm of similar opinion to you, where I think I just worry that it would not turn into great content. But then I ended up receiving like not an insignificant amount of DMs about it, and I was just like, hold on, maybe we should bring this up and at least talk about it.
We'll see. Maybe we'll cook something up, but I think my series will hopefully alleviate some of that too, and I'll bring that perspective, or at least
That'll be good.
Try to.
I thought you brought like good perspective today. I mean, I think, like you said, I think we all acknowledge that there are definitely like your some of your runs are just gonna be unsolvable.
Yeah, I mean,
it's unfortunate, but
these are unwinnable runs. Like, you were never winning that. You just didn't know that to begin with.
I hope what Growl said is like kind of explains a lot more of, or kind of shows that Growl kind of knows what he's talking about when he's pugging, because he does do that occasionally. And I mean, you can let us know in the comments below, like, would this be interesting to you? Because we do read them, sometimes at the expense of Growl's mental.
I'm the one with the weak mental, honestly. I got the worst mental out of the three of us, I think. All right. Any final comments?
Yeah, I mean, I guess MDI happened, but who cares? I guess my talk about
what
MDI
happened with your
this.
MDI adventure, by the way? I think you just like bowed out, and I don't think I really heard anything about what happened.
Yeah.
Well, first let me complain about the state of MDI, why I'm not that interested.
Okay.
Cups are generally like, there just aren't enough teams to make cups competitive. Like 3 teams make it from each cup into globals, and there just aren't 3 teams that are playing a full schedule. That's not to say that there aren't like crazy matches, but the stakes just aren't there yet. And I think global finals will be a lot more fun, and I'm a lot more interested for globals than for cups. In terms of our team, I don't know. It was just, there was a lot of things going on. I don't want to like talk specifically about internal stuff, but basically like, we weren't really that skilled on the classes that were good. We had weird times where we were raiding in 4 different guilds, and it was very hard to even put time in to like also stream it. Also, we had a live key team that we were playing together with just me, Drogo, and Dorky, and things were going really well, and I was having a lot of fun. So basically, we were having to sacrifice the fun live key team thing for like sometimes doing MDI on stream, and I just felt like it wasn't really worth it, and we all kind of agreed.
Is reasonable. Yeah, I think that for me, I actually like the MDI. I think that it's been more interesting this season than I thought it was going to be. I really was worried about the timing of the MDI, especially like a lot of guilds were still just like progging Ansurek and stuff like that. And the quality of player that you want to like compete in an MDI is typically somebody who's killing Mythic Ansurek, right? It's like that level of player that you want to actually participate in an MDI, but the timing of the entire thing felt a bit off.
Yeah.
But I do think it's been better than I anticipated.
I haven't watched it, unfortunately. I don't like this as much as TGP.
I think TGP is a more watchable format, in my opinion. Or actually, not more watchable. I actually think that MDI is easier to watch, like as like a viewer, because it just kind of like makes more sense intuitively. But I think as somebody like if you're actively playing the game, I think that TGP just is a format that resonates more with like the average viewer, because that's like what you do.
What I've also heard, I don't know how true this is, but I heard from some of my friends that like there's just a lot of cases where like a team wipes and then you just full screen the other team and they just kind of go to the end or something like that. I don't know.
Well, it's not exactly true, but it's more or less like the match, like that map is over if somebody wipes.
Oh yeah.
So. We very seldomly full screen teams. but you know that the map is over. It's like
Yeah.
inevitable.
Yeah, that's more what I mean.
Well, right. Squishy's not saying the full screening is the problem. He's saying the
Yeah.
match is over is the problem.
Yeah, that is
I
certainly
think
an
also
issue.
on top of that is like, I think knowing how the other team is doing is really bad for the format. And I think that basically it creates a situation where, like, let's say Team A and Team B are playing, and then Team A wipes. Now you sort of like, you know, if you want a close game, you're rooting for Team B to wipe, right? But Team B knows that Team A wiped, and they're just going to start going like a turtle because wiping is so punishing, and they're not going to take any risky maneuvers, right? Unless they really, really have to. And in keys that low, you don't really have that many risky maneuvers that you have to do, right? But
I'm not in love with the
only
nines. I'm not in love with the 9 level.
Yeah, it's definitely really weird not having Tyran or Ford on a key, which is awesome to say because that was not weird before.
Sudden MDI proc.
MDI proc. Yeah, that was a good. That we did an MDI discussion. There we go. We included everything. In
I'm ready for the TGP. The TGP is gonna be sick.
Yeah.
Are you guys playing in the TGP, Growl? Are you guys gonna like throw your hat in the ring for that one?
No plans. I kind of doubt it, to be honest, but there's a possibility.
Okay. TGP is interesting because you have to practice less. Is basically it, because you practice the entire season for it, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. It's just more relative. Like, people understand what's going on, right? It's like, you're watching this boss, you know that it's way harder than you've ever done it before, but you're like, damn, you know, I know the boss, I know these mechanics. Whereas like an MDI, I'll hear some of the dumbest stuff when people talk about MDI. Like, people will be like, oh, I heard it the other day. It'd be so fun to do MDI. Like, all these 10 keys are probably so easy. Like, you just pull everything and blast it, and it just dies. Like, you probably don't even need to heal. And it's like, bro, these are the hardest pulls I've ever freaking done. And you stand there for 6 hours trying to do one pull.
It's
like this is not easy.
It's like somebody watching the LCS, and they're like, dude, me and my 4 bros, we're all pretty good at League of Legends. We could hop up there.
Yeah.
Like,
Again, I'm not saying like, oh, everyone's dumb or they don't appreciate it. I'm saying like, it's hard to, right? It doesn't make any sense. Like, no one has any idea what doing MDI is like.
Yeah.
There's a reason that I think people say after every MDI season, I'm not doing MDI anymore. But
and then they do it
anyways.
Yeah. And they're back next season. All right. GG's. That's it for this episode of the podcast.
GG's.
See ya.